Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Staying Christian podcast. I'm Eli Chamley, and this is my good friend, Gavin Hobbs. I said his middle name earlier, and now he's mad at me. So.
Yeah, you guys could hack into my bank account or something, which would be no bueno.
It's definitely his password.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Anyway, so this podcast, we want to talk about God together, and hopefully be encouraging, as we would like to be encouraged listening to a podcast like this.
Yeah.
And we're trying not to be fake, although every time I do like the intro, I'm like, what's up, you guys? When really I'm like, oh man, hey guys. So anyway, that being said, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you're not a Christian, you're still welcome here. If you are, cool. Hope you enjoy it. You don't think we're dummies.
Yeah, more than likely
we likely are.
Yeah.
So
100, yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, so this podcast, I'd like to be real with you guys.
As per usual.
I really don't have much this week, and I've been reading the Bible like crazy, been praying like crazy. Like, guys, I've been doing the whole 9 yards. Okay.
Man, you must be doing it all wrong, because I have all of this stuff and I haven't done any of it.
No, I mean, I just, maybe it's because I haven't written anything down. I have these thoughts and I don't write them down. That's probably the culprit. But I do have this one thing. So I was reading, and in James, apparently, I was just reading through the Bible app, but I didn't realize it was James. And it was about the tongue being the rudder of the ship. Right? Everyone's heard that verse. It's like, the tongue is super powerful.
Well, when he said it, I thought it was Proverbs, because we used to read Proverbs, and then we also read through James at one point.
Yeah, we did.
At least a little bit of James. And I was like, oh, I guess it was from that time period. Anyway, I thought it was a proverb because it was definitely wise sounding.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, we were talking before we started this podcast about... Actually, we were praying.
We were praying.
Like, God, help us steer our tongues. Yeah. Because you say our tongues are like rudders of a ship. Mm-hmm. Please take the wheel. Yeah. But yeah, I was just thinking about that. And I'll just read something real quick to you guys. It is, in case for you Bible nerds out there, James chapter 3. Verse 9 says, "With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring?" Anyways, it's
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think that's possible.
But yeah, I was like, this is a good reminder that our tongues, our mouths really are that powerful.
Yeah.
And are we using them properly? Mm-hmm. I have a quick story. Yeah, You're welcome. Story time with Uncle Gabe.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kind of embarrassing. And people would be like, oh yeah, whatever, man. You know, I curse all the time, man. I'm like, okay, good for you guys. But for me, I don't normally curse. So
he doesn't. Like, he says dag nabbit or
those
anything,
are my,
and I'm like,
curse
whoa,
things.
Dude.
Which
you okay? When he says dag nabbit, I'm like, you all right? His fingers bleeding, and he's like, dag nabbit. And I'm like, oh no, let's get Gabe into the hospital.
It's serious, you guys.
It's funny, but it's serious.
It's nothing against like the people who curse at all. Like, I've got buddies who are just like, this or that. You know, I'm like, hey, good for you guys. You guys go for it. My conscience can't take it as much.
I've even cursed, in your presence to make a point.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go down the whole road of cursing is okay when and when, because I feel like that's such opinionated and such, and there's so many different qualifications, blah, 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 blah. It's not the point.
And we're not nearly scholarly enough to jump in with that.
Yeah, not that it really matters in the end. Anyways, the point is, I went out paintballing, and I'm around a bunch of people that are like cursing left and right? So that's not helping. So I'm making a little excuse for myself here. And then
that's okay. They were doing
it. Then my buddy was sitting there, and he wasn't sure what was going on. I was walking past him with my hands in the air, saying, "I just gotten hit. I'm out." And he nails me right in the hip, just, and I'm just like, leap, man. Are you serious? Are you serious? It's just like, F, man. Like, not to him, but it was just like an expletive. I can't believe this happened to me. Oh my gosh. So I was like, yeah. And then I thought about it later. I'm like, man, is that really necessary?
Mm-hmm.
I got hit with a paintball. Yeah. I mean, was I covered in welts the day after? Yes, I was. But was that really necessary? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like this. And I'm not saying to all you guys who say
you gotta feel
you guys
really
should
ashamed.
feel really bad. Which if you do, well,
every time it slips,
sure,
you
whatever.
know what? You're just you're way down there, and I'm way up here.
But for
that's
me,
what it is.
Yeah, for me, it's this is kind of my thing, I guess. I just don't do that. And this verse was a good reminder. You know, in my opinion, I don't want that kind of water, which I consider salt, to come out of my mouth. You know, so, anyways. I don't know. I feel like that's a really low-key representation because it didn't really hurt anybody. You know, we're good buds. You know, he wasn't like, oh my gosh, you just hurt my feelings and are we friends anymore? No, it wasn't that at all. Like, it wasn't that. But anyways, I don't know. It's a good reminder. Are we using our tongues for positivity, you guys?
Yeah.
Well, are we using it to encourage and exhort one another, or are we using it to just...
flippantly express things that don't matter.
That, or
well, let me jump in here because I'm just gonna tell you everything you said was wrong, David. I mean, I
go
can't
for
even.
It.
No,
go
just
for
kidding.
It. I feel like we're jumping into spicy waters here.
No, what I was gonna say was, you know, I think the biggest thing to remember about this is when you're a Christian, you know, it kind of matters the image that you put off, not like, oh, you know, you're entirely responsible for God's reflection to the world. I don't think one person is solely responsible for that in any way, shape, or form. And, you know, we're living examples of, you know, sin turning back and repenting, you know, and that's kind of what I mean by ambassadorship and whatever. But it is a good thing to remember that you are what people see and you are what people think of when they hear Christians. You are one that somebody knows, you know? I mean, I hope that they know you are one.
Yeah.
You know? And
sometimes I question you.
If I am one?
Sometimes I look over at Eli and I'm just like, is he though?
Although if you are serious, I hope you would tell me.
I'm kidding.
Okay. But I mean, I think that is important, you know, to, you know, measure what you say or do, you know, and take it and wonder and like be purposeful with it, you know, and not just do whatever. I guess I don't know. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, don't be a flip flopper.
I mean, keep a consistent image with what you believe, you know.
Yeah. Feel like to do that, you got to figure out what you believe too.
Yeah. So let's figure it out, man. What are you doing? Just kidding.
Yeah, I guess a way to end that is, because we kind of went into the whole language thing. I don't know, guys. For me, it's this way. For you, it may be different. And I've met a lot of people that I'm like, you're a Christian, you curse, cool, you know. So
like me,
like Eli. So yeah, like I don't know, guys.
I honestly try not to. I think it depends where it's coming from. You know, for me, I'm saying for me, it really depends on where the feeling that is making me express things in that way. That is the important thing. You know, I know there are certain situations where I can say something, and nobody's gonna think twice about it. They're gonna be like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Yeah,
you know. But there's some places I definitely don't want to, and I definitely wouldn't want somebody to hear me say that.
Yeah.
You know, especially if it was coming from anger or hatred or something like that.
I feel like for me, it more or less comes down to how you're using it, you know?
Yeah.
If you're using it to hurt people, then it's like, okay, man, come on.
Yeah.
Jesus said not to do that sort of thing. Oh. You know? I don't know. And I'm only 20 years old, so I don't know much, you guys.
How dare you? You know nothing.
Jesus says not to swear, but then some people will say, what does that actually mean? Does it mean like not take an oath, which I think is also said in there, like, I don't know, guys. Look it up, figure it out. I need to
Just
do that myself.
If you have a question about it, probably means that, yeah.
Yeah. Or that.
If you're like,
or
maybe.
really look for it, go in there and get the Bible and figure it out.
Ask a scholar.
That's really good to do your own research and go after it. Yeah. Find out what really is true.
Yeah.
It's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all, guys. You're welcome. Reminders with Gabe.
Reminders with Gabe.
Yeah, reminder that your tongue is a rudder, and let's keep fresh water in it, I guess, and not salt water.
So I was doing a lot of thinking about like writing and stuff today because, I'm kind of flip-flopping on it. Not like flip-flopping, but I'm back and forth, teeter-tottering about whether or not it's something God wants me to do. And for a while, I felt like, you know how stories just don't work? You know what I mean?
Like my story? My life?
No. No, I mean like you watch a movie or you read a book and you're like, what was the point in reading this or listening to this? There was no point except somebody thought this thing was cool and hoped other people would think it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what my stuff has felt like forever.
Mm-hmm.
And, more or less today, I feel like I say this a lot, especially to Gavin, but I feel like I've gotten like more direction from God on it. It's like, hey, why don't you teach this lesson with this story or use this example, And usually it's something that's happened to me. For example, one of the things I've really felt like has been put in front of me is about how God made things that are good, and then sometimes we take them and only see them as a novelty and whatever, and we use that thing to get happiness instead of the whole thing as peace. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
So like we pursue happiness and we get like the little thing, like, oh, sitting around and drinking with your buddies, that can make you happy for the evening.
Mm-hmm.
But sitting around drinking with your guys and talking about real things, talking about your life, talking about God in your life, talking about God for each other, that's like
that brings you peace. Yeah.
And
yeah, you're right.
There's like a big difference. And really, I know I always say this, but John Mark McMillan was talking about this.
This podcast needs
sense.
to be.
That makes sense. It's John Mark. That's where he got it.
He needs to sponsor us at this point. At this point,
we're going to his concerts and all this stuff.
Yeah, well, we can ask him for a sponsorship.
Yeah, we'll just we'll print out a picture of like us and the podcast and say, "Can you sign the picture?" No, but he was talking about a little bit about this, and then I took it from there. But God really is in the clink of the champagne glass. Jesus drank with the disciples. It's like, but it's not like, oh, let's get wasted, guys. It was like, hey, I am your servant, and stuff like that. And it was just so much better.
They fellowship together.
Yeah, it was fellowship. And it's just so much better as the whole thing instead of the little piece scraped off the top that we think is going to make us happy, like the outer image of it, And I think it's an important distinction. Like another example is you see it in like romance stuff. Where it's like, oh, let's run away together and go on the road, and we'll just be that couple that travels, and no one will ever be able to find us, And that's a novelty. And I used to think that was where I could find happiness,
right?
And there was a point in my life where I was like, all right, the world's against us, babe. We're just going to run away. That's just how it's going to be. And I'm so glad I didn't, though.
Right.
And what's funny is the reason I brought up like the stories and stuff I'm writing and stuff is because there was actually a few characters that I have been working on. And one of them has a big responsibility. And the other one is an outcast. And they're both romantically engaged.
Mm-hmm.
But whoa, you're writing a romance? Oh my gosh. But it would be easier for the person with the responsibility to just be like, I don't want to deal with this. I just want this over here with this person, and give it up. But really, it's so much more mature and fulfilling to learn the lessons that the responsibility has, and it's more stable in that responsibility. And, you know, sometimes it's not, but for me and for this character's situation, it is better to learn the lesson and stay there than, you know, run off, you know, and then get hit with that lesson much harder later.
Right.
You know, and I don't know. I think that there are some things
rather than just taking these good parts, these small little things that we find, the whole.
Yeah. There are some things that our culture tells us are the happiness,
right?
Are the peace, but they're not. And it's just the outward image of the thing.
I actually really like that, taking the whole for the peace rather than the part for the happiness.
Yeah.
Where did you get that?
My brain.
Oh, huh. You're actually kind of original.
I mentioned John Mark McMillan again, so I assumed you would be like, I really assumed Gavin would say, "Oh, you just got all this from him, didn't you?" You know, I mean, if you want to be technical, I got some stuff from a song and something from talk and, you know, whatever, but it all comes together in my head, and I'm like,
I like that.
There are novelties. We see these novelties of bigger fellowship pictures God has made. You know, and I think God teaches us things through the situations we're in and what we do with the situation. And, you know, God's going to teach us a lesson with it, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
But
that is interesting, though. Like, he created Earth for us, right? But it was always meant for it to be us plus Earth, right? The thing he made for us plus him.
Yeah. And then we were like, oh, Earth's
and then
fine.
we're like, we can find happiness here with this one thing, with this apple or this fruit, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then he's like, then he left.
You know?
And then he finally came back, you know? And then here was the whole back again.
Yeah.
The 3 in 1.
And we're still choosing.
I don't know. That's a little bit.
I mean, I know I can choose other things. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just do this today. And, you know, I don't need the peace right now. I'll just do this and be happy. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, man, I'm bored. You know?
Yeah.
When my time would be so much better well spent, you know, if I just went up to your house with a beer and sat on your couch.
Yeah.
You know?
100% better spent. Probably wouldn't.
I mean, it depends on what else, you know, but like sometimes it would be better.
Yeah. Putting in that small bit of work. Yeah. Peace with the whole, happiness with the half.
Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it does.
That's good. That's good, man.
I got a boat metaphor. We
got the
boat metaphors today. We got the tongue rudder thing, then what I got, and then like I've had another boat metaphor before, and we just
so many boat metaphors.
But I kind of want to talk about living on purpose. You know, sometimes I really get it in my head that, you know, I can just float for a little bit and, you know, things will sort itself out. You know, God's going to sort everything out, which in a way, God's always going to sort something out. But what I mean is sometimes I can get it. I think it's a lie that's told me that I can live not on purpose and just drift and everything will be fine. And I keep circling back around, but what I'm trying to say is I want to live so that when someone sees me, they know I'm a Christian. I want to live on purpose. And the boat analogy is that if you're a boat and you're going somewhere, you're making waves. You know, you're making the
wake,
the wake thing. And, you know, I'm afraid of, internally, I'm afraid of any ridicule, what someone's going to say about my opinion on this topic or someone's topic. And I'm afraid of the waves. And I don't need to be afraid of the waves. You know, God's backing me. At least I sure hope he is. That's why I need to be in constant communication with God, you know? And I think that if I'm going to go anywhere, it's going to be making a wave. And if I'm scared of the waves, then I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Or it's going to take an awfully long time to go anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just let the wind catch the side of the boat, I guess.
Right.
I might get to England eventually.
I might get there.
You know, like...
Yeah.
I don't know. I think...
That's true. Got to make waves.
I think I have to be making waves. And it's like, yeah, I'm a little scared of that. But I don't think I need to be scared of that as long as God's with me on that.
Yeah. And if you're wrong or going the wrong direction, he'll let you know.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to say you're wrong.
Yeah.
Be humble. Turn around. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Got to make waves to make progress.
Steamroll everyone in your way. God's behind you. That's what I'm saying.
That's exactly what we're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Don't care about their feelings.
Just cuss them out.
Just
You're
get
fine.
through it. Just push. No, but for real. You know, I think there's definitely a difference between those two things. One is taking a step forward or, you know, starting the engine and going slowly at first, testing the water, but you obviously don't want to steamroll. That's something I pray about when we do this podcast, is something I don't want to be a stumbling block for somebody to know God. And I know that I think I know God anyways, and it's wonderful. And I want everybody to know God like I do. And if I'm in the way of somebody actually seeing God and all they see is me and
him
my arrogance
on his steam
ship,
ship,
then I've done a poor job at emulating Christ, you know? And while Christ said some things that people didn't like, and a lot of people were like, okay, I'm going to throw rocks at you now, you know, and stuff like that, it was still the truth. And people, you know, still heard it, you know? And I don't want to say, you know what, everyone can just throw rocks at me, I'm just going to yell at them. But we're called to speak the truth in love too, you know? And that's what I want to do.
Right.
I want to be that. I want to show the love God showed me to people while also exhorting and telling the truth and saying, hey, I think there's problems. You know?
Yep.
The X segment. This is the X segment.
Welcome back. So last week, not last week because we didn't release an episode last week.
Oh, yeah.
The week before.
I meant to say that. Gavin got all emotional inside.
Yeah, I did.
I'm making fun of him, but...
Yeah.
No, it was pretty serious. He needed it. He needed a day.
Needed a break.
And
you know me, you guys. I'm just an emotional mess. You're welcome.
It's okay. We still love you, bud.
Sure.
I hope so.
Do you really love me in person, Eli?
Yeah. You bet I do.
Said I was gonna do Acts. Never did it. Because I totally forgot. Had a good podcast. I thought, anyways, I think that was Feelings Smealings. That was the one. Maybe it was the one after that.
44?
One about a Coke. Maybe it was that. I don't know.
45.
Either way, this is Acts number 7.
Are you going to read the whole thing to us?
I'm not. Do I usually?
No.
Okay, good.
What's it about?
This is a long one. This is we talked about this really in our last episode in which we talked about this Acts, the last Acts segment. Mm-hmm. But this is where Stephen talks to, he addresses all the priests and all the brethren, you know, and he says, brethren and fathers, listen, you know, and he starts with Abraham, God appearing to the father Abraham. And he basically tells them a bunch of stuff. Back then they listened, they knew the Bible like front to back then.
Yeah, well, he was mostly talking to like Pharisees and people who were directly studying,
right?
You know, and used that was like their career. They studied and taught the scriptures. Yeah,
so it's very interesting. He isn't just like, hey, you dummies, this was Jesus. He was here. You crucified him.
Yeah.
You know, repent. He was like, okay, let's construct this.
Let's go back a minute. Remember all of these things you guys preach every day?
Can we just like rewind a minute, man?
Just rewind.
Anyways, he talks about basically he touches on all the different points. You know, he goes through. He touches on Abraham, and then he talks about the patriarchs in Egypt. You know, he just goes over this whole story, and it keeps following it all the way down to Jesus coming. You know, and he's basically referencing the Bible, pulling out references to kind of emphasize on here.
Yeah, he's like, hey, all of these things you've been teaching for so long. This is the apex. This is where everything's been leading to, and you guys aren't seeing it. You killed him. Like, you know?
And it's interesting because he references all this stuff, and in this last paragraph, he says it's called God's True Tabernacle. This is the New King James Version. He says, our father had the tabernacle of witness in the wilderness as he appointed, instructing Moses to make it according to the pattern that he had seen, which our fathers, having received it in turn, also brought with Joshua into the land possessed by the Gentiles, whom God drove out before the face of our fathers until the days of David, who found favor before God and asked to find a dwelling for the God of Jacob. But Solomon built him a house. However, the Most High does not dwell in temples made with hands, as the prophet says, heaven is my throne, and earth is my footstool. What house will you build for me, says the Lord? Or what is the place of my rest? Has my hand not made all these things? And then he goes on to say, you stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, you always resist the Holy Spirit, as your fathers did, so do you. Which of the prophets did your father not persecute? And they killed those who foretold the coming of the just one, of whom you now have become betrayers and murderers, who have received the law by the direction of angels and have not kept it. And then they stone Stephen.
Burn.
Yeah. So but he builds this whole argument saying, you know, he came here.
Yeah. He's like, here are all the things. You guys refuse to see it.
It's really interesting, though, that he ends with that, with God's true tabernacle, you know? He wants to dwell with us, in us, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, he ends on that. He doesn't really, like, he doesn't seem to tie it in, like, right there. Like, I feel like there's some really deep, I haven't read it enough. I read it a couple times.
This is chapter 7, right?
Yeah, chapter 7, to really, like, see what kind of pattern he's building. One of you guys will probably be like, "Oh, I know what it is."
Obviously,
yeah.
It's been a good minute since I've read this passage.
But in a lot of it, it's detailing how they turned away from him. You know, God did all these things, they turned away from him. God did all these things, they turned away from him. And he's like, "Don't be like your forefathers." That's what it seems like he's saying to me.
Yeah.
You know. So, anyways, it's kind of a sobering. A sobering story for sure. The whole Stephen the martyr. He's the first martyr, Christian martyr, and just like craziness.
Yeah. He got him good though. He told him the truth.
Yeah, he did. He really set it out. It is cool to me. I like that Stephen set out this like. Quote, convincing argument. And that's what I kind of am looking at it, at least this time through. I feel like you get new things every time you go through a chapter in the Bible, right? So, like, thought it was really interesting that he is kind of laying out an argument for them. He's not just saying, Jesus,
man.
out, you know? No, he's like, hey, guys, let me actually speak your language.
Yeah.
And here's why I believe, and here's what you're doing wrong. You know? So, I don't know. I thought that was cool. It was like, kind of gives me like, okay, God does want us to actually be strong in our faith, why we believe it, you know?
Right.
Not just be like, Jesus, fam, you know?
Yeah, Jesus, man.
Not to take away from the fact that there's power. Like, I think it says
there's
somewhere,
power in the belief.
There's power in the name and all that.
Right.
But take from that what you will. Like, I think he does value that strong faith.
Yeah.
That's built on.
Yeah, it's not wasted. I mean, I think there are definitely times where it's not needed to, lay out the whole glossary and the whole thesaurus of this means this and this means that, and you guys aren't seeing, you're just missing this one thing, and this is misconstrued. And I do that all the time. I'm like, hey, I think you're misconceiving this bit, and we don't actually believe that. We believe this. And, in my head, I'm like, that'll fix everything. That'll just fix it. But that's not going to make someone believe it, you know?
I mean, you see that with Jesus. One case, he's up on the hill preaching for a long time. Another case, he's drawn in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes it called for long talks, and other times it was just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. Take from that what you will. Act segment with Gabe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, told you guys I'm going to keep doing it, and the plan is to keep doing that, so you guys aren't going to get out of this anytime soon. You're welcome. You're stuck here.
Yeah. I remember, this is real quick, but I remember when I didn't really used to understand everything I believed in, whatever, and
sure.
I'm pretty sure I said this when I read Mere Christianity, but it like solidified. It's like, oh, I mean, I always believed the things that are in here, but now I can say the words that mean the things I believe to people, and they'll understand what I'm saying.
Right.
And communication really helps. And, it's helped me in a few ways. So I think it's what you're saying.
Mere Christianity plug.
It's either a C.S. Lewis or a John Mark Macmillan plug. And if it's not one of those, then it was my own mind.
Oh, snap.
God prophesied through me to you.
Okay, so frankly, it's amazing.
Frankly, yeah. So it's amazing. Yeah, anyway, I do think it's good. It's really important to have your own foundation.
Yep. Anyways, that's all.
Thanks. Thank you guys for watching or listening to this episode of the Staying Christian podcast. I make that joke because I used to only say listening or watching.
Yeah, you only said watching. Ever since we started videos, like, thanks for watching. I was like, I'm listening.
Thanks for watching. Like a YouTube video, like a real YouTube video or something. But anyway, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. We're sorry that we are bad at speaking.
We're working on it. We actually are. If you guys have comments or some article links to how to speak better, you can email it to us at stayingchristian@gmail.com, or you can DM us some TikToks of people speaking better than us.
Yeah.
Staying Christian. That's it. Like at Staying Christian.
At Staying Christian on Instagram.
No spaces, no caps,
we're not on TikTok,
no
but you can download that and then send it over Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if we had TikToks,
it'd be over.
Dude, if we did like some...
The earth would split in half.
What's that stupid dance where you like do the little...
the floss?
The floss, yeah.
That's...
If you guys would like us...
That's old and outdated,
If you guys would like to see us doing the floss, email us or DM us at Staying Christian.
All right, bye. Stay real, stay Christian. Stay
real, stay Christian.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Email us so we could do the floss. Make those waves, knock these smaller boats over, capsize them. You are the storm.
God is on your side.
Don't worry about anything.
He'll take care of it.
Take the sword out and slice them all down.
Eli does the floss. What?
Oh my gosh.
You're not going to believe what happens next.
Run them all over.
This is a Jesus boat.
This is a Jesus boat. Get on or get out of the bank.
Get on. We're coming through.